let's get that going again. So again, welcome here. And so look, I've been wanting to get you on because you have an awesome service, and people all the time in Nifty Thrifty, they're always saying, who should we use to answer our phones? Who should we outsource to answer our phones, right? I'm looking, there's other companies out there. I'm just been trying to vet them. And for some reason or another, there's always an issue, right? And now, especially now with this whole COVID-19 issue going on, being able to answer your phones is so important. So Michael, before we go any further, right? Introduce yourself. What do you do? What does your company do?
Sure. So, excuse me. So, Michael Bonanno, obviously, and I'm the CEO of Performance Partners and Virtual Support Solutions. And Performance Partners is really a coaching and training company that uses a personality coding technology to help practices increase their case acceptance and case completion using a proven methodology called the bank methodology. So it's very exciting, very cool stuff. And once COVID hit, honestly, I had so many speaking engagements planned. We had a whole, dude, I was traveling all over.
I was supposed to meet you in person for the first time at one of these events, and that didn't happen.
Yeah. And so here we are, we're in the virtual world, and it's actually been, it's a catch-22. It's been nice and it's been tragic at the same time, right? So Virtual Support Solutions, so I created Performance Partners back in October of 2017 when I sold my practices very successfully and said, okay, so what am I going to do? I wanted to support dentists by being supported by experts, right? And then in June of 2018, created Virtual Support Solutions. And prior to COVID, we had 100% retention rate, which I was very, very happy about, And so we're supporting dental offices in call rollover and right now very heavily in call rollover and billing. And then the other side of that, once we come through this, will be in helping to keep, hygiene schedules full and dental chairs full with unscheduled treatment plans being scheduled and like that. But my favorite service that we offer, Glenn, is call rollover because in my opinion, it makes the biggest difference.
Oh man. And so we're going to get into that. And, look, I've been following Michael for quite some time now, and I got connected with him very recently, and everything that I saw following him on social media, right? I met him when I talked to him. It's definitely exceeded my expectation. And here's the thing.
Thank you.
Michael has been a practice owner. He just said he transitioned out very successfully, and he understands the big issue with answering phones. So let's just talk about that, because people are jumping on right now. They're like, okay, call answering service, and all right, well, there's a whole bunch of them. But Michael, what do you know about that, answering phones and doing it in the right way? How is that so important to practices?
Sure. I think the number one thing for practice owners to get is that although they think their phones are being answered right now, 87 calls. Our average office is missing 87 calls per month.
Wow.
Even our smallest offices are missing that, right? And our largest offices are missing upwards of 200, 250 a month. And so those calls get routed to us. Now, what I share with the practice owners is if you just look at it as an ROI or what the value of call rollover is, it's free if your team answers the phone. Right? It's free if your team answers the phone, but if for whatever reason, before work, after work, on the weekends, during lunch, during a team meeting, Susie's sick, you're down to one person, right? Whatever the reason, that it's like, isn't it great that you have a backup?
Oh, yeah.
So typically what we do is after 3 rings, it rolls to our team. We have a very extensive onboarding because I know as a practice owner, I was very particular. My doctor, my business partner was very particular about where we scheduled, what we scheduled, how we scheduled, and for how much time we scheduled, right? So we have a very particular onboarding process. It was designed by a 6 Sigma black belt process engineer. Wow. Yeah. And so we're really about the details, right? Making sure that every detail gets managed. And in the event there's an issue, well, then we'll correct that, add it to the work instruction and move along. But really, call rollover makes all the difference. When we start talking about average value per patient, right? So many of you know there's different platforms out there that give you analytics. And so one of the ones that we look at is what's our average value per patient. And if we know that 75% of patients that call and get voicemail don't leave one, right?
Wow.
Isn't that insane? So I'm like, oh, I'm one of those 75%. If I call somebody and they don't
I
answer,
am the same way.
yeah, and there's actually strategy to that, Glenn. I actually was talking with one of my buddies about it recently, and he shared with me, you waste more time when you leave a voicemail because then they call you back, pretend like thinking they didn't hear the voicemail. Now you've got to repeat yourself
Oh
again,
gosh.
right? So it actually saves time not to leave voicemails on some voicemails. At any rate, a couple weeks ago, I listened to about 5 hours of phone calls, and I'll share with you. Inside of COVID, we created a campaign, a nationwide campaign called U.S. Dental Triage, which I'll share with the group in a minute. But virtual support solutions is really the business we're in, and so what we do is we teach the dentist to look at what's the average value per patient. We then highlight every new patient call that we take on behalf of the doctor. So that's included in the daily reporting. And then they really get connected to, wow, had that backup plan not have been in place, the possibility of having that revenue or that patient on my schedule may not have existed. And I'm for the for sure game,
Yeah.
right? Like I want the for sure thing. So if I know that so how I'm sharing with Dennis is if you jump out of a plane, right, and you pull the cord to the first parachute and it doesn't open, aren't you glad that you have a second cord, right? I
Totally
would
true.
be, yeah.
And the thing is, you harped on something that's really important, right? Is how much does a new patient, what is it worth to practice, right? We talk about, man, we got to market, right? We got to get
Totally.
our patients' butts in the chair. But the thing is that if you're not answering your phone call, Michael, you know this, you're a practice owner, right? You spend all this money on marketing,
Oh,
and if you can't answer the phone, it is like so frustrating.
yeah,
So the thing is like we're going to talk about what you've been doing with the practice you've been working with during this time, right? Because you're
sure.
dealing with basically emergency patients. But before we go any further, guys, if you want a Nifty deal, all right, if you need help getting your phones answered, if your team needs the help, maybe you're working with a skeleton crew and you need third party to answer the phones, not just anyone answering the phone, a company that actually is owned by someone who's owned a dental practice before, who understands what we need. If you want a Nifty deal, you got to type in the comment section,
Nifty.
virtual support solutions. Type in the comment section, because you know what? Michael needs to see if you even want a deal. Okay, type in the comment section, virtual support solutions, and then I'll just needle them for the Nifty deal. Okay, so let's go back to that, Michael. So you're a stats guy, right? You're a stats guy. So how much money do you think that people lose? We're not even talking about right now. Let's not even talk about it. Let's just talk like a normal day in the dental practice. How much money are people losing when they don't answer the phone calls?
So let's say that the average dental office is open, 20-ish days,
Mm-hmm.
right? And let's say that the average right now is 87 calls per month. So that's about 4 calls a day. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So would it also then be fair to say that in 1 week's time, the likelihood of us scheduling as a result of the team not answering, let's see, that's what, for 16 to 20 calls, 25% of those new patients.
Oh gosh, that's just hurting me, just you saying that.
Now then, if you take the average value per patient, which is going to range based on specialty, right? So if we've got some practices that are very high end, fee for service, in the triple millions, and doing that, and they're missing the same amount of calls. Their average value per patient may be $2,000 or $3,000 per patient. An orthodontist higher than that, right? PPO practice in Phoenix, we say ranges between $850 to $1,000 per patient per year. The crazy thing is here I am, I'm talking with the dentist, I'm training him on an analytics software, and his phone rings. And I'm tapped into the phones. And my friends know that when my phone lights up, I know what's going on in the company. I'm very, very like my fingers on the pulse. We have 60 people on our team and growing every day. And, we pivoted inside of this COVID thing so fast and hard. I was having a conversation with, Elijah. It's Sunday night, Monday morning, I have an exec call, and then I have a sales call. And I literally just went, we are no longer, whatever you were working on no longer exists, right? This is the conversation, emergency dental. But that being said, Dr. Brad and I am training him on the software. His phone rings. He says, every time your phone lights up, it's like a slot machine, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I know, I love it. And he says, I feel like I should answer the phone. I said, well, you should. If you're available, you should. And isn't it great that if you don't, then you have call rollover?
Oh,
And
yeah.
call rollover, really, our commitment is to operate as an extension of the team, right? Where we create such an experience that the patient walks into the office and says, hey, where's Michael at? I was looking forward to meeting him, only for the office to say Michael supports us remotely, right? That being said, as I was looking at the reporting that he gets sent every day, he had multiple highlights. And I said, look, all those highlights are new patients. And what's interesting is that as we were looking at the reporting, the call that he missed was actually a new patient that we were
Oh,
able to
wow.
schedule for him. Yeah. So that
And your
made a
team
huge
picked up the
difference.
call and they did the schedule. They took care of everything.
They took care of everything, sent the leak for the new patient paperwork, made sure that the patient was taken care of, knew how to get to the office. They edified the doctor, and really made sure that the patient was going to experience a great experience. Oftentimes, when the phone is ringing, the front desk person is checking someone in, checking someone out. I know when I was a practice owner, the biggest thing that was most important to me is the relationship.
Yeah.
Right. So when I have a patient in the lobby, I want my person in the front office in relationship with that patient. Right. And oftentimes that patient then begins to open up and share about where they're spending their money. So then when we would put a treatment plan in front of them, which was several thousands of dollars, they were more willing to say yes, given they were just sharing that they just got back from Maui or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Brad's average value per patient was $774. So
Wow.
each new patient call that we take is that. The other thing to consider is that, like a guy like me, if I call an office and they don't answer, I go on to the next
Oh,
number
yeah.
unless I'm referred for like cosmetic work or something, right? So that happens. 2 weeks ago, on a Sunday, I listened to about 5 hours worth of phone calls. And I'm like, yeah, just because I can, right? That's the kind of guy I am. If I do something, I want to do it. And I make sure I don't miss a beat. And the one call that stood out to me the most, Glenn, was that the woman said, I've called my doctor 3 times, my dentist 3 times, and they have not returned my call. So what we're seeing in the market is a shuffling of patients, right? I was on Fox 10 News last night talking about US dental triage. What's so amazing is that the patient we happened to come across that agreed to do the interview with us is a former hygienist, 30 years of being a
Wow.
hygienist. What are the odds of that,
So,
right?
so let me just jump in right into that because you
Yeah,
mentioned a couple of times that people are wondering right now, right? First of all, we
yeah,
all understand making sure that the phones are answered. That's really important. We understand
totally.
that, right? But another thing I'll say is that having competent, not just having anyone answer the phone, having someone who's competent, and that's what's so great about your company because you come from that background. Dental practice ownership, right? This is not a
Yeah,
company that answers the phone for the pizza place, the plumber, all those other places. No, you deal with dental offices, but you keep on bringing up that emergency number, which is something that anyone can use right now. But before we talk about it, guys, if you want the Nifty deal, okay, come on, you want the Nifty deal, type in the comments section, virtual support solutions. We'll talk about the Nifty deal. So now let's go right into it. Michael, right now,
yeah.
it's a lot of people they're worried about the doom and gloom. Oh, I can't. I'm only
Mm.
seeing emergency patient. All these things. But when I talked to you, and the reason why I wanted to bring you on is you actually told me, Glenn, it's a very unique opportunity right now. Talk about that. Talk about what's going on with what you guys are doing.
Sure. So I definitely am sensitive to that there is a pandemic happening. People are losing their lives and their family members. That's definitely a reality. And, we don't have like, we're a small business. We're out to make a big difference, right? And so we also have a lot of members on our team that count on us. So inside of COVID happening, it was like, well, what can we do right now to make the biggest difference? I was on the phone. I'm like, we need to save this industry. We are not going out like this, right? And if dentists are willing to be open and patients are willing to be treated, then we should figure out how do we link those two things together. So then, of course, I start going into what I do and come across statistics and people and conversations. One thing I'd like the Nifty group to know is the former executive director of the Arizona Dental Association, when he retired, December 31st of 2019, he joined our team at Performance Partners. So I'm in relationship with him. We're talking about legislation, open access. I'm very, very passionate about supporting independent entrepreneurial dentists. And so long story short, there is what we ended up coming up with. I was actually on the phone with the dentist, and the pay by referral conversation came up, right? Pay per scheduled appointment. So I said, okay, well, we'll run with that because we need to generate cash flow right now. A lot of our offices that are utilizing us across the country are closing down. They don't know really what they're going to do. They're totally lost. And even though we're in conversation with them, we're not quite sure at what point they're going to realize that emergency dental is the only conversation right now.
Yeah.
Right. And many of them are like, we're not going back to the office. And then some of the dentists that I've been talking with, or we were talking with, were like, we don't have staff members willing to come to work. And I said, place an ad on Facebook. The people that you have on your team right now are not going to be, or may not be the same people that you have on your team when this is over. And, I said, I guarantee you post an ad on Facebook and you make sure you have proper PPE, which that's something that we're also doing. We're donating to first responders all over the country. I'll share with that. That's part of our U.S. dental triage campaign that got created out of COVID. So we started thinking, well, we're going to do a pay per lead, right? So we schedule an appointment, and then we realized that there are laws that probably say don't do that. Yeah. So and then we also realized that's not really the business we're in, right? We did it as a way of helping keep emergency rooms free of dental related needs. We did it to ensure that dentists that were open and willing to treat patients could actually see those patients. We know that pre-pandemic, ADA says that once every 14 seconds, there's a person walking through the doors of an emergency room with an urgent dental need or with a dental related need, right? And emergency rooms really are not equipped to handle definitive dental treatment. And those patients are best served in a dental office. And so seeing the missing, I've been on news stations and newspapers. We have a national campaign. So what we did is we created U.S. Dental Triage, and we're coining it the leading hotline that connects an patient experiencing an urgent dental need with a dentist that's open and willing to treat them. It's a completely free service for both the dentist and the patient. And we're really doing that as our way of giving back and contributing to keeping emergency rooms available for the sick, and also supporting dentists with treating those patients that may have gone to the emergency anyways. We've now placed hundreds of patients, and I'm very confident we're making a difference. And in Arizona, dental offices are allowed to go back to serving elective treatment starting May 1st. We're not quite sure how that's going to look rolling out throughout the country. But even that said, that 1 in every 14 seconds was pre-pandemic. So there's still a difference to be made right now, today, and in the future supporting dentists. So
how do you get on the U.S. Dental Triage list? How do you get on that?
The easiest way is to go to dentalvss.com, or you can call. Actually, the truth is, just call Julie. I think that's the easiest way.
Well, look, we'll do this. If you guys, for those who are watching, if you want to get on that list, right? Type in the comments section, virtual support solutions. Julie's going to look, she's going to see, she's going to reach out to people and say, hey, you want to jump on this list? Because look, if a patient is going to that emergency room in my area, okay, for a dental issue, I want them to come see me. I want the hospitals or wherever they started at, I want them to get referred to me because I'm willing to see those patients. I want to see those patients. So guys, if you want to get on that list, type in the comments section, virtual support solutions. Michael's team's going to scope things out and get you guys hooked up. So how has that, obviously how has that been, how's everything going with that? Like, how are what's the feedback you've gotten?
So amazing, right? Like it's really cool because any dentist can be a member of our network. And what we realize is that, dentists that are part of our call rollover program, since we're already scheduling patients for them, what we decided to do was say those dentists that are enrolled in call rollover get scheduled as a primary, or they get preferred scheduling. So when there's patients in areas that are seeking dentists, and we would first look at our call rollover clients, and schedule patients in those offices first. If we, for some reason, don't have one, which would be is kind of rare, because honestly, this has really taken off. Dentists really understand the opportunity that gets missed when the phone doesn't get answered. And so it's been really great. We started really heavy in Arizona, and now we've got Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, Atlanta, Houston, Seattle. We've got a national campaign where we're now donating K95 masks to first responders, and that has gained a lot of exposure as well. So the dentists are loving it. The dentist that we're supporting, I talked to one, actually, he was interviewed on Fox 10 last night with us. I invited him to join us for that. He served over 600 emergencies last week in 3 offices. And the dentists that are open and serving emergencies safely with correct PPE, really only doing emergency treatment, are busy. And I'm very thankful for that. And really thankful that those that are willing to be serving humanity are, and we're happy to do our part.
Wow.
We started looking at the amount of money that gets spent in a hospital when billions of dollars, I think $1.6 billion gets spent annually in emergency rooms that should really be seen in dental offices.
I mean, it's amazing. And what the service you guys are offering is amazing as well, because, look, I mean, I don't care if before COVID-19, okay, I'm sure most people were already missing their calls. Post COVID-19, we're not even sure what your team's going to look like. You're definitely going to miss some calls. And here's another thing too. It's like, look, just first of all, you can get on this list. All you got to do is type in the comments section, virtual support solutions, right? But look, if you are already using their company, you're going to be on that list. You're going to be the preferred person. And so look, as more people get wind of this, right? As more hospitals get wind of this, they are going to start calling that hotline. And look, if you're on that list, you're going to be able to take care of those patients. So that's an amazing thing, man, that you're offering there. And so let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about what's going on right now. Because, everyone is just saying like, man, how many people need emergencies, right? Like we make our production out of the hygiene and whatnot, and all I can see is emergencies right now. Well, Michael, you have clients that you work with. You have clients that you've been helping. Why don't you answer that question? For the practice you're working with and they can only see emergencies, how are they doing?
They're doing really well, honestly. Many of them are working as much as they're willing to. And, when we start talking urgent dental need versus elective, I'm really personally, I'm disappointed in the elective conversation. Isn't gum disease pretty critical. And so I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but you'll get my opinion. It's like, that should be something that should be continuing. The systemic link did not go away inside of COVID just showing up. And we're not treating sick patients. I think that's one of the most important things for people to realize. We're treating healthy patients. So when patients are calling, regardless if they're calling for a call rollover or they're calling US dental triage, we have screening questions we're asking, right? Have you been sick in the last 2 weeks? Have you been around somebody that's been sick in the last 2 weeks? We're educating on the process. When you arrive to the office, you'll call the office, they'll come out, they'll collect you, they'll take your temperature, et cetera. So it's really customizable, it's informative, it's really end to end in both taking care of patients and protecting the team members.
Yeah.
But to your point, Glenn, what's going to happen when all of these offices go back to business is we're already seeing it, right? We have offices that are reaching out to us saying, hey, because pre-COVID, we did a lot of continuing care, right? So we're calling on unscheduled active patients where the ROI when the office does it is this much. When we do it focused and intentional, it's 12x ROI minimum, which the office is seeing really not much action. I'd rather have the person be with a person than to be on the phone, because they're definitely not making as many calls per hour as we are. And because we're doing it with intention and velocity. But we're already seeing it where offices are asking us to help call patients that were on the schedule, not on the schedule, check in with their patient base, make sure they're safe and healthy, make sure they know that the office is open again, because email and that kind of thing is great, but the telephone is a lifeline of a practice, and that will never go away, right? There's only a couple of ways that a patient can schedule an appointment. It's telephone, online, or they walk in.
And if you
Right?
don't answer the phone, what happens to that person?
They move to the competitor.
They go down and they
They-
call the next person. Because look, I'll be honest, Michael, and you can attest to this. That's what I do too, man.
I do it.
Like I want to get a bid of, on something I call, and if I get the voicemail, I'm like, and I just call the next person. I don't even call back. Do you?
Nope.
Let me ask you this, Michael. Whenever you're looking for a service or something, right? You get the voicemail and you call the next person. Do you ever go, hey, you know what? I'm going to call that first person again?
No. And what happens is I've noticed, because I just had something with my washer, right? So I'm calling just like that. And I obviously need a repairman to come fix the washer. So if when they don't answer, I move on. And by the time they call me back, I've already found another solution because I need to get this taken care of in the 10-minute window that I have available.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, so here's the thing. I mean, obviously, this is a service that this is a service, guys, that you need right now. You need in the future. You probably needed it yesterday, okay? And we're lucky to have Michael on because I've been needling him, been bothering this guy about doing a Nifty deal. And you want a Nifty deal, type in the comments section, virtual support solutions. And then I'll start bugging him about the Nifty deal. Now, Michael, let's just address the big elephant in the room. Let's just address it, right? People are wondering, okay,
my hair
need it.
Or what?
No, your hair looks great. It's perfect. So, we're thinking right there, okay, I need this service. All right. I understand. Yes, we get it. Glenn, you don't have to convince me. But then how do you guys get compensated? How do we pay for it? How does the structure work? Because there's so many different plans out there. It's like information overload. So with your company, how does it work?
Sure. So we actually are in the business to support dentists. And so we charge a per patient related call, right? So we charge during the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday, we're charging $6 a call. After hours and on the weekends, we charge $10 per call. Now, pretty much all of the same companies that play in the same space we do are charging a per call period, right? If they pick up the call, you're getting charged. And, that's not the business we're in, right? We're really in the business of and supporting dentists. And so we only, we make money when you do. And that includes when a patient calls to cancel or change their appointment. We have scripting and verbiage. It can be customizable. We know if it falls within the cancellation period, if there's any grace with their first change or cancellation. But answering the phone when those people are calling and being able to adjust your schedule now makes a difference, because the two most important days of the week are today and tomorrow, right? I ask teams all the time. I say, what's the two most important days of the week? And they're like, Monday and Friday, Saturday and Sunday. I'm like, no, today and tomorrow. We want to make sure we're maximizing the opportunities of today. That means that if something's going to change tomorrow, let's say that a patient calls and leaves a voicemail they need to cancel or doesn't, right? Like me, I know I have all good intentions, but I know in my past, I've made a call to cancel or change something. They didn't answer. I thought to myself, I'll call them back, and then I don't, right? Or I do right before my appointment, and now it's like I'm canceling within the cancellation window, right? Because I tend not to do that so much now, but it has happened. And it does happen. And so we just want to be available. If we are talking about patient service and we're committed to patient service, and I know like when I need service and I go on to, let's say, I don't know, I'll make this up, Bank of America or something, right? And it's 9 or 10 o'clock at night and I'm just settled down and I can actually manage this issue and I can't reach anybody to help me, it's annoying. Right. So if we're in the business of patient care, then what's consistent with that is access to care and access to service, which is making sure phones get answered, people get taken care of. But where I was going with the today and tomorrow was that if a patient calls now and we answer the phone and we can make that change now, that provides everyone additional time to either fill that hole, fill that appointment opportunity, or have the hygienist come in later if it's the first appointment of the morning, or what have you. But typically what we do, it's a really great way of kind of running the circular, is the outbound recall to patients. All those calls, they call the office phone first, and then if they don't answer, it rolls to our team. So we're never double dipping,
Yeah.
it's really clean, and it really is the commitment to serving dentists is very present. And that's why we're willing and happy to give a Nifty deal where we're like, hey, come test out the service, come test out the process, look at the ROI, let's talk about it, and really make a good decision for your dental office business. I was on the phone with actually, I'm not on the phone. Before the pandemic, I was with a buddy of mine who owns 10 offices here in Phoenix. And he said to me, Michael, one of the number one things, what's one of the number one things that a corporation does when they buy a private practice that increases the business by 20% month one, day one? And of course, I'm sometimes can be arrogant, right? Like I think I know everything sometimes, right? So I start rattling off these things, and he says, now he's been in business a long time, right? The
Sure.
10 practices, 23. I said a couple of things, and he said, they just make sure the phones get answered.
Yeah.
Take care of the phones, right? And the business grows in a way that hasn't always been measured in the past by dentists or office managers.
Well, Michael, I'm gonna have to show you something. Obviously, a lot of people are loving what you're saying. You already got someone in the fan club already in Nifty. We love you, Michael, and we got someone here.
Thank you.
Good info. Yes, thank you for showing that love. Hey, show us some more love here. If you want that Nifty deal, if you like what you're hearing, type in the comments section, virtual support solutions. So, Mike, I'm gonna go back. So,
sure.
Essentially, the way you guys get paid is you pay. It's basically a performance pay. You're not charging someone X amount of dollars per month, whether you do anything or not. No, you guys only get paid for doing something, and that's what I love about how you guys set up the payment, because so many companies, I'm not gonna mention any name, they're like, okay, this is the retainer, okay, and whether anyone calls or not, you're on the hook, right? You're on the hook. But another thing too is like everyone's always asking for after hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Weekends, and you guys provide that. Now, let's just settle the debate here, because you're in this business, you are a practice owner, and now you have this company. People may be saying, nobody calls at night. No one calls at night. No one calls on the weekend. Michael, let's dispel that myth, man.
Dude, 37% of calls happen after hours on the weekend, right? Wow. 37%. And it's interesting. If you look at your call logs, and people say, "Oh, I call the person right back." That's your opinion that you call the person right back, right? Because if you called the person right back, you just barely missed the call, right?
Which is more like I called them right back, but really it was like 3 days later.
3 days later, an hour later, even 15 minutes later, like I said with my washer, I was already done. I had somebody come into the house, get it worked out, done. As far as I was concerned, my issue was resolved, right? The appointment was scheduled. And so that's what we're witnessing right now, is lots of calls after hours and on the weekend. Not lots, but a significant amount. More importantly, even, is that so many of the calls getting missed during the day, right? And then the other thing to consider is the experience that you're committed to providing. Is it being provided 100% of the time? So a few years ago in my consulting days, I trained an entire call center for one of the largest companies in dentistry. And anyway, I was going to say, I don't want to make sure I don't mention names. So that being said, when the phone rings, it's really important to deliver the kind of experience you claim you're committed to.
Oh yeah, because you said you're all about customer service, but you never answer your phone.
Right. Well, and when you answer your phone, there's consultants that say, don't immediately put the patient on hold, because then it occurs as though you're too busy for them, right?
And what happens in practice when they're busy?
Right. Well, and then the new patient coming into the practice, it's incomplete work gets done, right? You want to make sure they know how to get to your office. That question is almost never asked in so many of the calls that we listen to across the country by other team members, or how they heard about the office. It never gets logged into the computer, so you never know how the person really heard about you, so you can't track the ROI on that. And then it's always the marketing company's problem, right? So there are different systems and processes that need to be in place to ensure good ROI. And in partnership with us, we will make sure that dental offices are clear about it, because we want to continue to build value for what we bring, right? So we're happy to share with you the new patients and that have called, and we share, this is the date, this is the time, this is what the patient wanted, this is what we did about it.
Wow,
right?
it's just like having another team member that's working
Totally.
remotely, that's working on the weekends and in the evening time. I love it. So look,
Yeah.
I mean, we just talked about a bunch of things here. One of the biggest things, especially right now, what's going on right now, is getting on that list, that US triage list, right? Because Michael's doing something amazing to really help those hospitals out there to kind of decrease the amount of dental emergency they have to fool with, because they don't want to fool with that, right? And there's a lot of us that want to take care of these patients. So you want to get on that list. That's a free service there. But obviously, if you're working with them already, you're going to get the preferred status, the VIP status, right? Another thing too is this. Yep.
Yeah, even if you're not working with us yet, right, and you come on in your zip code, you get added to that list. And the other thing I wanted to really quickly circle back on, Glenn, was you started going down the road of, other companies that play in the same space as we do. So, patient-related calls, I want to be clear about that. That means if a solicitor calls, we're not charging you. That means that if there's a hang-up call, we're not charging you. It literally is when we're supporting you with taking care of a patient, then you pay for the service.
I love that. That is so important, because, man, that's the last thing we want is nickel and dime. But the thing is Michael,
totally.
You've been on our side before. You're a practice owner. So you know about getting nickel and dime. You don't like it either, man. I love that.
No way.
Okay, guys. So look, type in the comment section, virtual support solutions. You got to type in the comment section for this nifty deal. We're going to announce it right now. But also, if you want to get on that list, right? So I know a bunch of people is going to jump on later. We're going to be scoping it out. Julie on his team is going to be scoping it out. But, type in the comment section. So, Michael, I'm going to put you on the spot, man. We've been having a great conversation, but now it's time to get uncomfortable. Now it's time to get on the hot seat, okay? And the hot seat is you're in the Nifty Thrifty group. You got to hook us up with a Nifty deal. So I'm going to put the crawler on here. And, Michael, what can you do for our group, man? What can you do to get us to kind of work with you and start working with virtual support solutions?
Sure. Well, the first thing that we need you to do is type in virtual support solutions in the comment section.
There you go.
We can be responsible for that. You get connected with, and you get, our assets, and you really get the information that you need to make a good decision for your business and for your practice, for your team. Your team will appreciate it. We have office managers that go to their dentist because they're like, this would make a big difference for us, right? Like, especially if they're business minded and they want to maximize every opportunity, they're clear that the phones need to be answered. That being said, with the Nifty Group, we're clear that once you experience our commitment, people ask me, what's the difference between your company and another company?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm sure the other company is great, and I know what we're committed to, and I know the reality of our commitment right now, where we are, where we're going. And so I don't know anything about the other company. I'm sure they're a great company, right? And there's a couple of them in the space a handful of us, right? That being said, we've had 100% retention.
Wait, what?
COVID. Yeah, prior to COVID, we had 100% retention since June of 2018. I think that speaks very highly of our commitment and
That's
how we
insane,
operate.
man.
Yeah, and the truth is, we grew 100% by referral, right? And so only a couple months ago, when I brought on a C-suite team and really got serious about what we're really building here at Performance Partners and Virtual Support Solutions, did things really begin to expand, and I continue to expand myself as a leader. And we brought on all the team members that we have right now and continue to bring on. We also put a lot of people back to work, right? Like sales reps, where their commissions went to zero, and supply reps across the country. We're in relationship with them and talking with them about how to help the industry as a whole, because we know that it's amazing, Glenn, is that the every single supply, every piece of equipment, every technology, every consulting hour, everything that happens inside of this business is the result of one thing, and that is a dentist's hands are in a patient's mouth, right? That's it. And so our job is to get as many patients in as many dentists' hands that are willing to put their hands in patients' mouths as busy as possible and keep their schedule full. So that being said, we're clear that once you experience our commitment, that it'll be a service that you value and hold dear. And so we're going to provide the first 10 calls. We're going to do the connection of the software and the telephone and the entire onboarding, which is very detailed so that we can really be excellent in our delivery for you as an extension of your practice. That we're going to provide, and then we're going to provide the first 10 telephone calls free. That'll include the reporting. We record every single call in and out, and we're happy to do that and help to make a difference.
Wait. So hold on, I'm going to have to stop you there because I want to make sure I heard it right, and I want to make sure that you say it again so that we can all hold you to it. So you just said that you're essentially going to waive a setup fee. And then you're going to give the full service, not like a watered down, weak version. You're going to give the full service and you're going to do the first 10 calls. The first 10 calls that can be generating income right away. You're going to give that all for free.
We're going to include that in the Nifty deal. Now, what's cool about it is when you start to see the calls we take and the difference that we make, right? And then when we say, well, what's your average value per patient, for example? I love doing this. And I'm like, okay, so we scheduled, 3 emergency appointments for you today or for this week or what have you, right? Average value per patient, let's say it's $1,000. You just paid us $18 to generate $3,000, right? So it's a no-brainer. Again, it's a free service in the event that we don't answer calls for you, but in the event that you have calls that go unanswered, I'd rather have what works as opposed to be right about something, right? Like, oh, all of our calls get answered. Well, let's just put the safety mechanism in place and let that work in the event that for whatever reason, I'm not right, right? And I tell my team all the time, I say, hey, I don't have to be right about it. As long as it works, I'm good, right? Yeah, and we have very smart, very amazing and smart people on our team. And I'm clear that, I say we have the best team on the planet. Right.
I love it. Guys, if you like that Nifty deal, type in the comments section, virtual support solutions. If you want to get on the triage list, I want you to do the same. So we'll talk about the deal one more time. But basically, I want to ask you this, Michael. With teams that are working with a skeleton crew, right? Or maybe they furloughed some team members and it's going to take some time to bring them back on. Wouldn't it make sense to have someone answering your phone calls? Isn't that one of the most important things? I mean, come on.
I mean, so we didn't talk much about reimbursement services, right? Billing services. And if you really think about what a virtual support company can do for a dental office, right? It really is bring 100% reliability to that your schedule has actions being taken to ensure that it's full and that you're collecting your money, irregardless of what's happening in your practice. Those two things will continue to remain true for you, right? So you can operate lean and mean, right? I operated my practice at $2.1 million. I had 2 people up front, and I come from the limousine business, right? So before dentistry, I owned a worldwide chauffeured transportation company. To give you a quick synopsis, it's like there is a distinct difference between a driver and a chauffeur, right? And you probably understand the difference just by saying it. Well, I was very much about the chauffeur quality. We brought that into the dental industry, right? I brought that into the dental industry inside my practices. We grew very quickly, very significantly, focusing on bread and butter dentistry, crowns, cleanings, fillings, and restoring implants. Everything else got referred out. And you really can do it and do it well when you have the right support and people that are, people like me that exist to fulfill on your mission. Mm-hmm. Right? Because that's what it really is about. It's about being supported in the fulfillment of your mission, the dentist's mission.
I love it. Okay, so let's do this one more time. Okay, so obviously we know answering the phones is super important. We also know that having a company that actually knows what they're doing. that has the dental background is important as well. So we know that. Okay, so the Nifty deal is, Michael?
Boom. No onboarding, month to month, no startup fees.
Wait, no contracts.
No contracts, no, because the truth is,
because you're gonna earn their business every month,
every single month.
And you said something that made my jaw drop earlier about your retention rate is what?
Well, prior to, I don't know what it is today, right now, but prior to COVID, 100% retention since June of 2018. What I really want to also make sure everyone is clear about, so please join our US Dental Triage hotline. Right? We have a massive national media campaign that we are currently generating. We have cities where we're looking for dentists to go on with us and donate PPE to first responders and have a press release about their practice and really have it be edifying them as excuse me, the community leader, and just making a difference. So please go to that website or type in virtual support solutions. Julie will make sure that you get added. We have agents taking calls 24 hours a day. We have calls coming in and forms coming in multiple locations throughout the country.
Even go ahead and put that number up.
Yeah, the
602. Yeah, so I'm going to put this number up for you guys to take advantage of the Nifty deal, right? So let's call this number. I'm going to put this up right here for the deal. Also to get some more information about the triage service. But Michael, thank you so much for jumping on, man. This is awesome, man. I'm super excited. We're gonna keep on looking. Type in the comments section, virtual support solutions, if you like what you're hearing, but also if you want to get on that list too. So, Michael, thank you so much for jumping on, my friend.
Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, my pleasure, Glenn. Thank you to you and the Nifty community. I'm looking forward to knowing so many more of you.
See you guys later.
Yeah, see ya.